What's good? So I only have like three full days left. I have to leave Monday morning, but it is what it is. It's life, you know. Sometimes you have to go through stages in life to get to where you want to be in life. So, and you also need to be uncomfortable to really develop for those stages in life. My homeboy Vic driving by. All right, man. But the topic of this video will be self-improvement. I watch a lot of videos in regards to just living a Christian life, and also I watch other videos where the men might not necessarily be Christian, and they speak on their worldview of being a better man and living as a man in society and whatnot. Now, one thing I do not like about our society is how we try to demonize masculinity. It is very necessary that we have manly men, in my opinion. One thing that a lot of men need to work on is the fact that we are called to be masculine. A woman does not want to date a woman that is a man. She doesn't necessarily. Now, I'm not about to sit here and be like, oh man, the man's supposed to be the boss of the house and all this stuff. My worldview has men as the heads of their families in a marriage, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking in regards to how a man should carry himself, how he shouldn't. I'm not against men crying and men having emotions, but I am against men making excuses and not trying to find ways to do better. I'm against the fact that a lot of men like to be lazy. If they feel like they can't have the perfect opportunity or the perfect job, then they shouldn't be doing anything. Ultimately, we aren't called to enjoy our work. We're called to work, and then from our work, when we get paid, we pay for the things that we enjoy. That's just how I feel about that. Now, another aspect of self-improvement would be your physical shape. I don't think it's acceptable to be out of shape in 2021. We have had this whole pandemic the past year. That's probably like a cuss word to say in a YouTube video, my bad. We have had this global phenomenon for the past year, and it caused a lot of people to have to be inside. I understand that, but when you're inside, you don't have an excuse not to do something. You can do mountain climbers inside, jumping jacks, push-ups, burpees. You can do all of that. You can watch a YouTube video and have a whole routine. There's no excuse why you can't get to it. And a lot of people like to have external excuses to try to find a way to justify why they're not doing something, when in reality, they weren't going to do it even if they didn't have the excuse. So try to not be like everyone else, and try not to be content with falling into that mold of doing the bare minimum, because ultimately, whenever you find yourself doing the bare minimum and you find complacency in doing the bare minimum, you're hurting yourself in the long game. Like, in the short term, you might feel better in the sense of, wow, I didn't have to do as much today. But ultimately, in a long-term game, whenever you find something that you do want to do and you're not necessary, or not something that you do want to do, because whenever somebody is interested in doing something, they always find some motivation. But whenever you have something that you don't want to do that is necessary to do, and you've been lazy and your mindset has been, I only want to do what I want to do, then you're hurting yourself. And if it's work related, you're hurting your coworkers. If it's family related, you're holding back your family. If it's in your kids' life, something that they prioritize, and you're supposed to come in part to do something and you don't, that's going to make an impact on their future and how they look at you, and ultimately how they decide to make decisions with their friends and if they can trust you. The last thing I'll say before I end this, because I don't want to make a lot of long videos, the last thing is self-improvement. Improve how you adapt and respond to situations emotionally and physically. A lot of people, I spoke with someone yesterday who told me a lot of people react, but a lot of people don't act. And they react because they're making a decision based on what they've heard, but they're not acting as a way to do what's necessary or what's right. So if I see somebody that's yelling at me, let's say a man is coming up to me and he's mad at me about something that I don't necessarily have control over. We're at the gas station. We're both at the pumps. His pump doesn't work. And he comes up to me with his problem. Okay? And he's yelling at me, cussing me out about the gas being messed up. Now, I could react, and based on how he's coming towards me with an attitude, I could have an attitude right back. We might ultimately fight. We might ultimately just argue. But at the end of the day, it was unnecessary for me to escalate my own emotional state for the fact that he's upset. So I should act, one, in love, because in my worldview as a Christian, I'm supposed to act in love in every circumstance anyways. But ultimately, I shouldn't have to change my character to the point where now I'm compromising my anger or my joy or my sense of peace for how he's acting. He should have no space in my mind. He shouldn't have any power over me. If someone can change your mind based on their actions, or they can change how you feel based on their action, they have too much control over you. And that's not something that I take lightly, because ultimately, I don't know why I keep saying ultimately so much, I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, we can't allow other people to make our lives harder, and we can't allow other people to make decisions for us. And when I say make decisions for us, I mean they shouldn't have enough power in their words or their actions to the point to where now my next move and my next decision is completely a response to what they've done. I should be able to be independently focused and think independently and make my own choices, and whether they be good or bad, it should be independent of what the other person has already done. So I hope that everyone just continues to not just focus on themselves selfishly, because you're supposed to focus on yourself. That's good, but there's a world full of people around you that also might need you. So don't make yourself reserved to the point to where you can't be accessible by other people. You should always shine your light on the world. If you're a Christian, for sure, you're definitely supposed to preach the gospel to those who are saved, or saved and unsaved, because a lot of people who are saved, they lose sight of what Jesus' purpose was. His purpose was to bring us back to God, because we can't do anything of ourselves to save ourselves. We can't do any amount of good works. We can't do anything that ultimately pleases God to the point to where He will forgive us and save us. Jesus has done the work as our atonement, or His blood atonement was the perfect sacrifice on behalf of our sins. He was our propitiation for our sins. He was the payment. He was the fulfillment of prophecy. But ultimately, that's another conversation. Don't make yourself selfish trying to be better. Be better while helping others. That's all I'm going to say. Have a good day.